Welcome to the concept of inventory management or inventory control system. If we talk about what inventory really is, inventory are those items which basically any organization hold it for sale in ordinary course of business or during the work in progress or the materials which are yet to be consumed in the production of the final product. The main parts of inventory or the main categories of inventory are the raw materials, the finished goods, the semi-finished goods, and most importantly, the spares and the consumables which the organization keeps in stock, which will be required in the further production of the final product. Inventories generally are held in stock for many kind of reasons. If we take the example of raw materials are kept in stock as it creates a certain kind of lesser price if it is bought in bulk purchases, and definitely is kept within that organization so that the seasonal fluctuations or any variations in supply will not affect that organization. Work in progress, work in process, whatever we call it, those kind of items are held to avoid any kind of interruptions in production and definitely to stabilize the production and the employment so that the production time does not get increased and subsequently the profit of the organization does not decrease. Most importantly, finished goods are kept within stock of the organization so that should I say the customer response can be faster. Most importantly, the time taken to send the product from the organization to the customer becomes lesser and lesser. So these are the kind of inventories that we generally talk about. Now let's come back and talk about why inventory control is required. Inventory control is generally required to for the organization to achieve the efficiency and most importantly to reduce the cost of the production. Excess stock, if we talk about random excess stock kept within an organization, will not only involve the capital investment but also the storage, insurance, whatever cost are related, supervision, the depreciation, whatever wastages of the product. These kind of costs generally go up, and if that product generally goes for a number of period, if it is going for a longer period of time, subsequently those kind of products can be talked about the depleted product, or most importantly it can be termed as wastages. So the money or the capital investment will go in vain for the organization. So this is the major reason behind a scientific inventory control system. Now the major objective of the scientific control system is that to strike an optimum balance between the loss due to non-availability of the item and cost of carrying stock of a particular item. So the scientific inventory control or the inventory control system aims at maintaining optimum stock of goods required by the organization at minimum cost to the organization. Most importantly, if we talk about a few objectives here, we can definitely say the sufficient stock of the finished products should provide the required service to the customers as per their requirement. Most importantly, the continuity of the productive operation, which will help in reducing the production cost of the organization, can be achieved. As I previously already have talked about, the efficient use of the capital, the investment, can be done if the proper inventory control system is applied. Most importantly, the organization can buy on their own decision, and they can achieve the economy in buying, taking the advantage of the favorable market or not taking the advantage of the unfavorable market. Due to this, most importantly, the risk of loss for the organization generally reduces a huge amount of time. This is very important. The reduction of the risk that is there with the organization of loss. And most importantly, if that particular inventory control system is facilitated within the organization, the supervision, the administrative supervision of that particular organization becomes very very easy and very simple, and avoids any kind of should I say variable or tedious kind of calculations. So these are the major objectives of inventory control system, or implementing a scientific inventory control system within an organization. Discussing about the steps to install a scientific inventory control system, is the first thing that we need to consider, or any organization needs to consider, is to how to treat the items based on their relative importance. The higher important item should be treated in such a way, and that particular treatment of the higher importance item will not be same of that of lower importance item. So the selective treatment of items is very important. The second part is theoretically create an economic ordering quantity. As we have previously talked about, economic ordering quantity is the minimum kind of cost that any organization generally can fix. That particular lot of product, if it is ordered at that particular batch, the cost reduction is the maximum. So the fixation of economic ordering quantity is very important. Now this economic ordering quantity can be calculated. This is a theoretical part, but practically the difficulties that are faced by the organization in case of purchasing, or the stores, or the receiving department, that theoretical EOQ needs to be what should I say, scrutinized against that set of practical constraints, so that the rationalization of EOQ can be done. Most importantly, going back to the next step which the organization needs to ensure, is that we need to fix, or the organization needs to fix, the operating level. That operating level, or that should I say the purchase department, needs to know how much to order and when to order. For knowing this, that particular department of purchase and receiving needs to understand and have a complete knowledge of the concepts of lead time, safety stock, the kind of replenishment systems that are there, and what is the suitability according to the organization. So fixation of these kind of operating levels are very important in order to install that scientific inventory control. And most importantly, if all these are done properly, then definitely what we need to do is to appraise the performance. What kind of thing? Because this stock of actual achievement, whatever we are gaining actually, the result that we are achieving, comparing it with the expected gains and the required modifications that are required to take to achieve that, we need to appraise that particular performance of this scientific inventory control system. Then only the organization can find and definitely can be benefited with a proper scientific inventory control system. Coming back to the first, if we say the most important kind of analysis or the inventory control system that we have, is the ABC analysis. ABC analysis follows a very important principle of vital few and trivial many. If they talk about the vital few and trivial many, they generally talk about a certain kind of principle which was introduced by Wilfred Pareto, was known as Pareto analysis. They follow that particular concept. Pareto analysis generally stated that they generally followed the 80-20 rule. In Pareto analysis, what was that? The rule was that removing 20%, should I say, if we can remove the 20% of the causes, 80% of the error can be removed. This is the particular Pareto principle. So the 80% In the other words, we can definitely say the 80% of the problems are result of only 20% of the causes. This was the 80-20 rule which was introduced by Wilfred Pareto. And subsequently, when we talk about ABC analysis, the term A items are very important and key to the business. The other items, which are B and C items, are more than in number than A, but their contribution towards the business is lesser significant than that of A. A items are basically found at 10 to 15%, or rather I can say 5 to 10% of the total items, which account for the 70 to 75% of the total investment made in materials. As I was saying, the 80-20 principle. This is this. However, if these kind of items, these 70 to 75% total investment on the material, if these kind of items are not rigidly controlled, or there is no detailed control of this, what happens? The organizational profit generally goes down. Coming back to the B kind of items, these items are generally 10 to 15% of the total items, and whereas they represent 10 to 15% of the total expenditure on the materials. These are somewhere in between products of A and C. The control of these kind of items does not need to be as detailed as that of A, but they need some control as well. Coming back to the C items, these are the rest of the items, means 70 to 80% of the items, but they are inexpensive in nature, as they take only 5 to 10% of the annual expenditure. Hence, the organization does not seem it to be that much close control is required on these kind of products. So the procurement policy, if I say the way of buying of these items, is exactly reverse of that of A. They does not require these kind of close control. So the organization needs to divide their items, segregate their items into these three groups to focus on the importance of A items, and then subsequently on B and C. This is what we mean by ABC analysis. Coming back to the HML analysis, HML analysis is very similar to the concept of ABC analysis, but instead of usage value in HML analysis, the price criterion is used. Under HML analysis, the entire inventory is divided into three major groups: the high price products, the medium price products, and the low price products. High price products, let's take an example here. Generally, if we talk about any products which generally lies above of 10,000 rupees per product, is considered as the high price product. Any product from between 9,999 to 1,000 rupees is generally considered as medium price product, and any product below the range of 999 is generally treated as low price product. This way, generally, this is just an assumption, this is the way generally the organization divides and segregates its product into the HML groups. Now, HML analysis generally helps us to talk about the security arrangement that is required to safeguard those high price products, so that they cannot be wasted. Most importantly, to keep control over the consumption of the items of the high price products. Most importantly, the HML analysis helps us to check the high priced item more frequently than that of the low price product. And most importantly, it absolutely affects the buying policy of that particular organization. These are the usefulness of this particular analysis of high, medium and low price product ranges. The next analysis is called VED analysis. The terms VED stands for vital, essential, and desirable. Under this analysis, the classifications of items are based on their criticality. Vital category generally vital items, should I say, generally falls into that category if the particular product is not made available, the production would stop for the organization. These are vital items. The essential group of items are those kind of items whose stock out cost is very high for the organization, and a desirable group of items are generally those which generally do not cause any kind of loss of production, or their stock out is not that expensive, or if even they are not available, they generally cause a minor kind of disruption, but definitely for a smaller period of time. However, that any item which may fall otherwise into other category but generally can be treated as a vital item if the product's non availability causes serious production loss, or else any product's lead time of procuring that particular product is very high, and most importantly, if any design of the product is not according to the production capability of that particular organization, or else if we can say any supply of that particular product is a singular one and is located far off from that of the buyer's plant. So then only these kind of products which are generally not vital to the organization suddenly becomes vital to the organization, or which otherwise may be falling into the category of essential or desirable. So the things that are required for the organization to talk about the vitals and the essentials and the desirables, to identify the factors, as I said, the factors, these are very essential for the organization to understand, and then segregate and group the products into the vital, essential, and desirable kind of products. So this VED analysis, if we can say, is best suited for the spares inventory. Means whatever things we are holding in stock, for the raw materials, for the finished goods, or even for the should I say work in progress, for these kind of spares item, VED analysis is very helpful for any organization. Under the concept of SDE analysis, S, D and E generally stands for the scarce, the difficult and easy items. The scarce classification is for those kind of items which are in short supply, imported maybe from through government agencies. Such items, those kind of scarce item, needs to be procured a limited number of times a year so that the expenditure to procure the expenditure on procuring those items can be kept within a check. Difficult classification are involved with those kind of items which are generally available but not are easy to be procured. These items may come from a very long distance, for which reliable sources do not exist, for which reliable sources are not there. So these kind of items fall into these categories. Even the items which are very difficult to manufacture, or one or two manufacturers only produces those, these are the kind of items which falls into the difficult categories. The procurement of these kind of items generally require an advance notice of maybe from several weeks to several months. Now, coming back to the last kind of category under SDE analysis is the easy category. Easy category are those kind of items which are readily available. They can be procured at any point of time from any should I say kind of buyers. So these are very easy to available. SDE analysis, most importantly, is a very vital tool for the buying department or the purchase department, because they need to know which method of buying. And most importantly, they need to fix the buyers so that the scarce item or the difficult item generally do not go out of the market, and for that the production does not faces a disruption. So this is what we mean by SDE analysis. Coming back to the concept of MNG analysis and the FSN analysis, these two, should I say, analysis are pretty much similar with each other. MNG stands for the moving items, the non-moving items, and the ghost items. Whereas FSN stands for the fast moving item, the slow moving item, and the items which are absolutely non-moving. Let's come back and talk about the concept of MNG analysis. MNG analysis is basically based on the stock turnover rate, and hence can be divided into the above mentioned, should I say, items. Moving items are basically those kind of items which the organization consumes at a very fast rate. From time to time they require these kind of items. These are essential kind of items for the production purpose. Non-moving items are those kind of items which generally the organization does not consume for more than a year. Once a year, or max to max twice a year, if the organization is procuring certain items, those items generally go into the non-moving items. And last but not the least, the ghost items have not been used by the organization for a very longer period of time. So these kind of items have been staying with the organization for more than 1 to 2 years. So basically the MNG analysis helps the organization to identify the kind of non-existing items, so that the waste management, so that the waste recovery cost can be done within the organization before the products, mainly the ghost products, goes to obsolete and the loss is permanent. So this is the concept of MNG analysis. Moving on to the FSN analysis, as I have already talked about the fast moving, slow moving, and non moving to be the full form of FSN analysis. These are very similar kind of thing where the products, if they are consumed at a faster rate, will be treated as fast moving. The rate, if it is slower than the fast moving and is not appropriate absolutely of the fast moving, those items will be talked about as low moving or slow moving, whichever you feel like. And the items which are absolutely not consumed by the organization will be treated as the non-moving of the organization. For these kind of items to be categorized as fast moving or slow moving or non-moving, the last date of received or the last date of usage is very important. With that the organization generally keeps a track on the items, on that particular items which are absolutely non-moving. As I have said, the concept of MNG and FSN are pretty much similar to each other. That is, these two are required to observe these kind of items which are absolutely non-movable for the organization, and to hand it out or stock it out before the products generally gets obsolete and the loss of that organizations becomes permanent. Now, a combination of the two kind of analysis is shown in this particular slide. Here I have taken the comparison of ABC and XYZ analysis. Now if we go back and just talk about the ABC and XYZ analysis, let's come back to the first thing which I was talking about, the calculation or the analysis of XYZ, which I have not discussed up to this point of time. The calculation of XYZ items are completed by looking at the variance of the coefficient of sales in a specified time. The X items are those kind of items which have a very small kind of variation that does not vary or does have a regular kind of pattern in case of its demand, and the demand process is very easy to predict for the organization. The Y kind of item has a greater variation than X, but does not have that kind of irregular demand process. So it is neither regular nor irregular demand. It is not that easy to predict, but it is not that difficult to handle that particular product. And Z items are those kind of items which have the most variation, which are absolutely irregular, and most importantly very difficult to predict its demand. The XYZ analysis generally highlights the new or the obsolete kind of items. Now, if we have previously talked about ABC analysis, where should I say, A being that kind of item whose importance is the most to the organization, B being a lesser value than A, C is the least valued item of that particular organization. Now, if we come back and talk about the kind of, if you can see here, the combination of these two analysis, you can see here, I have taken in the x-axis, I have taken the XYZ analysis, and in the y-axis I have taken the axis to be the ABC analysis. Now if we talk about the coordinates and the matrices that we are having the AX or XA, whatever you feel like, AY, AZ, very similarly BX, BY, BZ, and CX, CY, CZ. So if these are the kind of items that we are talking about, you can see, you can easily see here that AX, if you are talking about AX, is subsequently needs to be purchased by the organization at large volumes, but their demand level is very much stable and does not vary from time to time. Whereas AY also needs to be procured at larger volumes and is a bit less stable, so a bit more volatile. Whereas AZ needs to be procured in very high volumes, but is also very volatile. The demand process of AZ items are also very volatile. Very similarly, you can see I have talked about the BX, BY, BZ. These are the kind of items and how the organization needs to react to these kind of forecasts that are there. So this is one kind of tool, or this is one kind of applicability which the organization opts for when they talk about the emergence or just the convergence of two kind of comparisons. There are furthermore also comparisons that can be made. I will ask the students to also look about into the XYZ and FSN analysis. So that will help you a lot to understand how the organizations combine different kind of this kind of tools and achieve the absolute required analysis that is suitable for any kind of organization under any kind of tool management or inventory management.